Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. I am here today with another what sold video, but today's video is going to be a little bit different. Normally every week I come on and do a what sold from last week video and share my sales from the previous week, and then we go over some really good items that sold that you can look for at your local thrift store. However, as you guys probably know, if you are regular viewers of my channel, I had to take a small break from YouTube, and so I'm kind of just out of my rhythm with making those videos, but I really did want to come on and do a what sold video. I actually had a really outstanding month last month in the month of March, and I wanted to share some of those numbers with you guys as well as some of the items that sold. So rather than doing a what sold from last week, we're gonna kind of do a what sold from last month. And so I've picked a bunch of the best items that sold last month to share with you guys. These ones are ones I would consider home runs. So first I'll start by saying that the month of March is the best sales month that I've ever had. It was definitely a record-breaking month for me. I grossed over 12 grand in reselling in 1 month. Now that number does include my Etsy sales, which are basically sales from the keywords document that I made that you guys have purchased. Thank you guys so much for all your support in that, and I truly hope that that document is helping you. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, I recently created a keywords copy and paste document, and I will link that video here and in the description that talks about what that is and how you can actually make your own if you don't want to spend the $5 to purchase mine. So like I said, over 12,000 gross, 1,000 of that was Etsy, and the rest of that was reselling. I did not include my YouTube money in that, which actually was significantly less because I was not making frequent videos. But nonetheless, still really happy with those numbers. I mean, shooting for the stars here, but that's a really great number, and that is before I had the manager that I just hired. So with her help, once she gets trained, I'm hoping we can do much more than that and keep improving every single month. We're gonna keep pushing forward. All right, back to the what sold. So that's just a generalization of the numbers in March, but with that, the things that really helped me get to that number were the keywords document and all of these really great home runs that I'm about to share with you. Some of these may be duplicates from the last what sold from last week video that I did, but not very many. There will be very few, if any at all. So I pulled from just 3 platforms, eBay, Poshmark, and Mercari. You guys may or may not know, but almost all of my items are on both eBay and Poshmark. But this year we decided to start cross-posting all of them over onto Mercari. So I would say maybe half is over onto Mercari now. And I recently did a video with Brittany from Essential Endeavors, and she helped me with getting my Mercari store basically profitable and teaching me some daily things that I could do to make frequent sales on there. So as you guys know, this month has been crazy for me due to the house fire. So I haven't exactly been able to do that every single day, but leading up to that, I was doing all of those things and making frequent sales. And since doing that, it's kind of carried over, and I have been having some pretty good sales on Mercari. So I wanted to share some of those with you guys today. So we're gonna go over first eBay sales, Poshmark, and then Mercari. And again, these are ones I cherry picked out that I think are home runs, the best ones for you to look for at your thrift store. And as always, I will tell you why I picked them up. So probably one of my favorite sales from March was one of the 2 Baba sweaters. Baba is a brand that makes vegan wool, and they are really, really popular. I actually found 2 in one thrift store, and it was the first time I'd ever come across that brand. Since then, only one of the 2 have sold, but I do have a lot of watchers on every platform for the other sweater, so I'm hoping that that will sell soon before it gets too warm. I think I had it listed for $200 or $250 with the best offer. Someone offered me $175, and I went ahead and took it. I think it was a little bit more special because it was a cardigan rather than just a sweater. So if you come across the brand Baba pretty much in anything they have, I'd say it's definitely worth picking up. Next is this vintage Taz jacket. Now this was on a tag called Lot 29, and from what I could see on doing comps, This brand, in collaboration with some of the like old vintage cartoon characters, do very, very well. This one in particular was a Taz one, and I had it listed pretty high. It ended up selling for $120. You guys know me, I love looking for anything wacky and weird, so when I came across this, I had to look it up. So if you come across anything really nostalgic and wacky like that, definitely worth looking into because it can mean big money. Next is this vintage Allure men's Bear Whiz shirt, which I believe was a beer brand. So Bear Whiz, I think, was a beer brand, but it was a 1993. It was actually dated on the graphic, all over print, front and back of this shirt. This I had been sitting on for a little while, but I'm glad I did pick it up. The stuff in this brand seems to do well, and I priced mine a lot higher than other ones because I knew that I had a really good graphic. This ended up selling for $125, and I did receive positive feedback. Next is this Free People Western cardigan. So this was like a very thick, heavy duster cardigan with a belt. And of course I wanted to look at it, first of all, because it had this really pretty Western print on it. And then I realized it was Free People and knew it was probably going to be a home run. So I don't think I ever ended up figuring out the actual style name to it. So I just put keywords in there. It had a lot of interest. It ended up selling on an offer for $83.79. So substantial pieces like that in Free People are still worth picking up. Although I do know that that brand is becoming oversaturated, unique pieces like that can do very well. Next is this Woolrich chore jacket. Woolrich is a great brand, and as the name would lead you to believe, they're really popular for their wool pieces. This one was just a vintage plaid kind of outdoorsy barn jacket, and I put a bunch of keywords in there, like outdoor, like barn, like chore. And I did look up specific comps for this, so I was able to find very similar ones and price accordingly. This one sold pretty quickly, so substantial pieces in Woolrich, sometimes vintage, can bring more money. I also sold this Hillary Radley coat. Now, if you look up Hillary Radley alpaca coats on eBay, there's not a whole lot of information there. I took a chance on it because it felt like a really high quality coat. It was an alpaca and wool blend, and overall it was just a really nice coat. Sometimes you just get a gut feeling and you've got to go with it, but in general, I wouldn't say that this brand has a big sell-through rate. It was just all of those factors combined why I picked it up. This ended up selling for $50, and I already received positive feedback. This next one was an interesting sale. You guys know I don't frequently pick up hard goods, but when Goodwill pushes out their like new carts, kind of like the new racks, stuff with hard goods usually has shoes on it. So I always go over there and look for the shoes. When I was over there doing that, I noticed this mirror. It looked very antique. It was really high quality and heavy. And when I looked at the back, I saw that it was made out of sterling silver, which usually is a good indicator of a high quality product if it is labeled sterling silver. And a lot of times it is an antique item. So this one was actually labeled S&B, which I later found out was Sart Brothers. And there's actually really good comps for like vanity stuff, mirror, and a couple other parts of the set. Unfortunately, I only had the mirror. This stuff was all from the 1920s, so it is actually antique according to definition. Extremely quickly, I priced it for $49.93 and it sold almost immediately for my asking price. Now, this was antique and it had some distressing on it, but I think that only helped to add the value. So if you come across anything that looks antique like that, check to see if it says sterling silver on it, because you might have something worthwhile. Next was this Coach bag. I've been finding a lot of Coach bags at the thrift store. And the thing with Coach bags is you have to look up that, I guess it would be called a serial number on the inside leather patch, and really make sure, first of all, that it's not fake. And then try to determine what the exact style is so that you can do specific comps. This one I found out was called the Signature Gallery Tote, and we actually put that string of letters and numbers into the title. It had monogram all over it, and I think it sold very quickly because it was, you know, not those crazy wacky colors, it was more neutral. So it was a little bit more classy. This one ended up selling for $49.93 plus free shipping, and it sold very, very quickly. Well, you guys, it is now way later in the day. I had to go do a bunch of things and come back to film the rest of this video. Where were we? Next is this Liz Claiborne men's leather jacket, but this was actually a special kind of leather. It was a lambskin leather jacket, and I find that lambskin is one of the more sought after types of leather because it's very soft and supple. Now, normally I wouldn't pick up a Liz Claiborne men's leather jacket simply because they do not have a great sell-through rate. However, because this one was lambskin and in really nice condition, I decided to pick it up. Next is this vintage jacket. This was called Midwestern Sportogs jacket. Now, this said all of this on the tag, and so I wasn't really sure what the specific brand name was, so I just put all of that into the listing. This was wool on the inside of the jacket, so it was lined with this really nice plaid wool, and then on the outside was this cream leather. So for all of those reasons, I decided to pick it up. I did see some pretty good comps regarding this brand when it comes to this particular style. Even though the leather did have a slight discoloration to it, because of its age, it was still in really great condition and there were no holes. I listed this one at $49.92 and it did sell at my full asking price. This is one of those items that I probably wouldn't have looked at had the inside lining not been wool and not been that exact type of plaid. Next is another leather item. It is by the brand Territory Ahead, and it is a women's leather suede jacket. Now, this brand actually makes really high quality items, but in general, I don't pick them up because the sell-through rate is not always there. Like I mentioned before, kind of with Liz Claiborne, you know, if you're just looking up the brand, you're probably not going to see a really good sell-through rate. However, when it comes to certain kind of materials and certain kinds of styles, sometimes it is worth picking up when you can pair all of those factors together. So this one I picked up, Territory Ahead in leather jackets actually does have a pretty decent comp. So this one I listed for $44.92 and it did sell at my full asking price. I think just overall, the aesthetic of this one was really nice. I also sold a LuLaRoe dress, which is kind of odd for me. I like rarely ever pick up LuLaRoe. I find it all the time. There's a ton of it, as I'm sure there's a ton of it in your thrift stores, but I just like never pick it up. It actually can have a pretty decent sell-through rate. Actually, LuLaRoe is one of the top selling dress brands on eBay, but I find that unless it is a really special dress or maybe one of the more unicorn ones, that it's not usually worth picking up. And so this one was part of that like elegant collection, and it was honestly a really pretty dress. So it was kind of like a blue velvet with some gold flakes through it and made this really beautiful print that I think could be worn to a party. So as I was looking this up, I did notice that almost every LuLaRoe dress that was really nice and more formal had the word elegant in it. So for that reason, I put that in my title as well. And this was called the Amelia dress. This one I listed at $49.93 and it did sell at that price. Similar in name, but definitely different brand, is a Lululemon dress, which is a really nice activewear brand. And this one was super high quality, thick material in Lululemon, and so I knew I was going to pick it up, not just for the brand, but whenever I come across those really thick materials in more casual pieces, typically those are part of like their travel line, which can yield really high profits. I figured out with a quick search that this was called the City Bound dress. This sold very, very quickly at $49.92. So if you come across Lululemon, I don't think all of it's worth picking up, but the ones that I have profited the most on have been the full-length leggings and then these more really thick, high-quality casual pieces. And the last item I wanted to show you that sold on eBay that I thought was a really good sale was actually a robe. Now, I talk about this a lot. People skip on the intimates in the sleepwear section, but there's really good profits to be made if you know what you're looking for. In general, I look for really nice prints in like silky long robes, and that usually leads me to the correct brands that sell for quite a bit. So this one was by Victoria's Secret, and it was 100% silk. It had a really beautiful multicolor floral print, and it was a longer length robe. It also came with the matching tie waist, which I don't always find, and I probably would have picked this up without that tie belt, just because it was silk and it was so beautiful, but that's always a bonus when you get the tie that goes with it. You can usually ask for more money. So this one I listed at $49.93 and it did sell at my full asking price, and again, very quickly. Moving on to some of my best Poshmark sales, I sold a pair of Lululemon leggings. These were kind of a printed pattern, which I think usually adds more value, and these sold for $59.99 with free shipping. Again, in Lululemon, I do think that leggings are a really good sell. These ones were crop, but the full length ones definitely can sell for more money. And then if you have a print, I do think it helps to add value and you can ask for a little bit more money. If you're not familiar with the Lululemon logo and you're new to reselling, I will put that here on the screen just so you know what to look for when you are out and about. Free People is another brand that I feel like it has become oversaturated, and it really depends on the exact style that you're getting. But one of the things I look for in Free People, or We the Free, which is one of their lines, is the thermal long sleeve tops with the contrast cuffs. I talked about this a lot more during the fall and winter time when I was picking up thermals more often, but I'm still selling those thermal tops. So this one just sold. It is by We the Free, and I did look up the style name. It was called the Safari Valley Cuff. This sold for $44.99, which is amazing for a pre-owned shirt. So if you're not having luck with Free People or We the Free or Intimately Free People, you know, any of those lines, one of the things you can look out for that does yield good money is the thermal tops with the contrast cuffs. This is an item that I picked up solely based on style. I come across this brand, I would say fairly often. The brand is Pol, P-O-L. But I like almost never pick it up. It just does not have good comps online, but I could not pass up this cardigan because it just had a lot going for it. So if something has enough good style factors and they're all combined, to me, it's worth a pickup no matter what the brand is, because I can put all of those keywords into my listing. And if enough people are searching for those factors, they're going to come across my item. And when something is really specific like this, I feel like it almost always sells. So this was a forest green cable knit sweater. It was a little bit longer length cardigan. It had some scallop details along the edges, and it also had elbow patches. I find that elbow patches on pretty much anything really helps to add value. And this one sold for $39. I just realized that I have been going off of my eBay unsolds to show you guys these items instead of actually looking for what they sold for on Poshmark. So let me rewind really quick. Really sorry guys. So those Lululemon crop pants sold for $58 on Poshmark, and the We the Free Valley Cuff sold for $40 on Poshmark. The Pol cardigan sold actually for $45 on Poshmark. And you might be wondering, okay, you said $39 before, why are you listing something for this much on eBay and then this much on Poshmark? And that's because on eBay, on most things, I do not allow offers, but on Poshmark, anyone could send offers. So to account for that, I usually add $5 or $10 to each listing when I cross-list it over using List Perfectly. And sometimes it ends up selling for more money than on eBay, and vice versa. I just consider those bonuses. So that Pol cardigan sold for $45. I also sold another cardigan. This one I picked up simply because it was wool and cable knit. And so this is what I like to call a fisherman sweater. I've talked about this before in my keyword series, but pretty much anytime I come across a really thick wool sweater with a bunch of cable knit detail, you can almost always bet that it's going to be worth picking up as long as there are no holes. Now, I always look up comps on the brand. This brand was called John Malloy, and yeah, I just basically looked up John Malloy cable knit cardigan and really great comps. So this one sold for $60 over on Poshmark. And just for curiosity, let's look up what I had it listed for on eBay. So on eBay, I had it listed for $59.92. So what probably happened is we cross-listed it over for $70. Someone sent me an offer for $60 and I accepted. So you see, even though we're pricing higher, most of the time I'm accepting offers over on Poshmark. So it ends up being about the same amount. Always, always, always pick up really, really thick, high quality wool cable knit cardigans and sweaters. You can almost never go wrong. On Poshmark, I also sold this by Marc Jacobs leather bag. Now, I have come across Marc by Marc Jacobs before, and I've actually bought it and listed it and never really had much luck with it. Obviously, Marc Jacobs is a designer brand, but Marc by Marc Jacobs, I think, is a little bit lower in line in that brand, but still can retail for a lot, but not always resell. But when I looked up leather bags, I basically searched by highest sold because I thought this one was more high quality than the ones I had come across before, and I decided to pick it up. With that chance, it did end up working out. I ended up selling this for $85. So go with your gut. As I always say, if it feels really high quality, even though the comps might not be there, if you have enough factors going on, you can sell the items. Just be very careful that you do know what factors are on trend and that the item is high quality with certain kinds of materials. So that Marc by Marc Jacobs bag ended up selling for $85 over on Poshmark. I also feel like there's more of a market for that brand on Poshmark versus eBay. I also sold this Retro X Patagonia cinchilla jacket. Now, Patagonia cinchilla jackets in general do very well, but I almost always look up the style number on the inside on that PSPIA website, whatever it's called. If you look up how to look up Patagonia style numbers, that will pop up and you can type in the exact style name. It'll pull up a picture. It'll tell you the season it's from. It's extremely helpful. But that is how I knew that this was called the Retro X cinchilla jacket. And then I was able to do comps using the exact style name. I actually already knew the style name because I had picked up the Retro X's before, but I just double checked myself by looking up that style name. But highly suggest for Patagonia, you look that up because they can have more rare pieces. And it was a black Retro X cinchilla jacket and ended up selling for $44. I sold a lot of jackets and sweaters in March. Sold this LL Bean women's corduroy barn coat. LL Bean is a great brand to sell, but in particular when you have more substantial pieces and then when factors stack on top of those substantial pieces, you're really looking at a really good sale. So LL Bean barcodes is something that I pick up quite often, and I use the words outdoor, utility, chore, and that usually helps to get people the listing. But when it is covered in all corduroy, that usually brings up the value because that's a little bit more or less common than some of the other ones. Ended up selling for $55 over on Poshmark. Now we're getting into some more summary items. I have been sitting on this item for a while, but I'm still glad I picked up because I got a great return on investment. The brand is called Sundance, and it was this blush embroidered midi dress, and it was just really gorgeous. I picked it up last year when all that bohemian trend was going on, and I thought it was really on point. And I listed mine kind of high because I didn't see any of that exact style. So I think that's why it's been sitting for so long until we're moving into now this year's warmer season. This ended up selling for $60, so I'm glad I waited on the item. Highly recommend the brand Sundance in certain pieces. It does have a really great following. This was probably one of my favorite sales. I really love picking up vintage pieces. I just think they're very nostalgic, and I like researching into them and looking for the date. I don't know, it just soothes my soul. And I watched Scooby-Doo like a lot as a kid. So this was a vintage 90s Cartoon Network Scooby-Doo sweatshirt. This had a really cool graphic, and I listed what I thought was appropriate, and it ended up selling for $55, and this did not take very long to sell. Keep your eye out for nostalgic pieces when they are dated with the exact dating, especially 90s, I feel like is really on trend. People are searching for vintage 90s right now. Another trend that is really going on right now are the faux leather leggings and jeans. And so I've been keeping my eye out for these like vegan leather pants. And when I came across these in American Eagle, in a high rise, which is another trend going on right now. I mean, I feel like it's been going on for a while. People say low rise is coming back in. I don't know that it is. I think people are still picking up high rise. I know I am. I think high rise is still on trend, but paired with that vegan leather, I think made this sell really quickly, and these sold for $38. So obviously you want to do your comps on that, but as you're walking through the athletic wear or even like the jeans or dresses, keep your eye out for faux leather items because they are really trendy right now. I finally sold these pair of rare Converse. This is a collaboration between Converse and I think I'm pronouncing this right, Comme des Garçons. And these, if you see anything with this little heart, half heart face, that is Comme des Garçons. And everything I've ever found, it's only been a handful of items, everything I've ever found has sold really quickly and for tons of money. So definitely keep your eye out for anything with that. But these were a collaboration with Converse, and they were a very rare item. If you look up comps on eBay, the sell-through rate is really outstanding and comps look great. So even though these did have a little bit of wear, there was discoloration on them and the shoes themselves had a little bit of wear, I still bought them because of how rare they were. These ended up selling for $80 on Poshmark. Just a couple more sales before we jump into the Mercari sales. I wanted to share this toddler item that I sold because I don't always sell kids stuff, but there are some really profitable kids items. This is a vintage Levi's toddler trucker jacket, and it had some really nice like fading on it, which I thought really helped to sell it. And even though this was a itty bitty toddler jacket, because it was vintage, I think it just sold really quickly. I had a lot of interest. It did sit for a couple months, but it ended up selling on an offer for $40. I also sold this men's Burberry London plaid polo shirt. Now, one of the things I want to say about this is Burberry London is in general a pretty good brand to pick up, but it's not going to sell for as much as an actual Burberry piece sells for. However, I find that Burberry London is not faked like regular Burberry is. So it's almost always a safe bet to pick up Burberry London. You're just not going to get a whole lot for it as much as like a Burberry piece. So don't get too excited if you find Burberry London, depending on what the piece is. But when it comes to this like tan plaid that they're really known for, those pieces do have a higher resale value. So when I saw this, I'm pretty much always, as I'm going through shirts, looking for this like tan, black, and red plaid because of Burberry. And this happened to be a Burberry London shirt. When I looked at it, picked it up, it sold for $45. And last item I wanted to show you on Poshmark before we jump over onto some of the Mercari sales was this Dansko women's Liliana black burnished nubuck wedge. So that was the style name. I really love picking up Dansko. I think unless it's in really great condition, you might be sitting on the item. It is like more people are selling it and it's not selling for as much as it used to. So I think the item does need to be in really good condition. Most people come across the clogs, but however, if you can find Dansko in the more modern, more casual styles like this one, you're going to be looking at a quicker flip. So these ones ended up selling for $45. And again, they were a more modern casual style. So keep your eye out for Dansko. Okay, moving on over to Mercari. I have 4 sales to share with you. I think I did have more than 4, but these are the, you know, the creme de la creme, the best of the best sales that we're showing today from the month of March. So over on Mercari, I sold this men's Dickies blue plaid shirt jacket. Now, Dickies is a brand that is very utility style, and I don't normally pick it up unless they are certain types of pants in Dickies or these shirt jackets. So what makes it a shirt jacket is it looks like a shirt, but it is a little bit heavier. And typically when it's in the plaid, I think it helps to sell for more. Now, one of the reasons I think this sold for so much was because of those little patch details right here on the shoulder. I think that really helped to get more for the item. And so I pay attention to little details like that. So this ended up selling for $50, and almost all of my items on Mercari right now do have free shipping. I'm hoping to change that in the future, but for right now it is free shipping. So it probably cost me about $8 to $9 to ship this. So I am looking at kind of a gross sales amount of about $41 to $42 on this Dickies shirt jacket. I also sold these pair of Clark's men's Desert Trek boots. Now I've sold these in the past, but I don't come across them pretty often. But when I do, I almost always pick them up. They're very easy to spot. They have a certain kind of style. They're very clunky, and on the inside of the shoe, they say Clark's Originals Desert Trek. So if you come across those, pretty easy to spot, and you're looking at usually about $50. These ones sold on Mercari for $55. Again, free shipping, probably cost somewhere between $8 and $10 to ship these. I sold this Barber women's sweater on Mercari as well. And Barber is just in general an amazing brand to look for. I think that the resale value is pretty good compared to the retail value of Barber. And there are a lot of people that really like this brand. In particular, the jackets do best for me. Obviously, they're more substantial piece, but sweaters do pretty good as well. And because this one had a lot of detail to it, like the cable knit detail, again, I bring up cable knit a lot, but cable knit always adds value. And so this one was a wool blend cable knit sweater. And some of you might be wondering why I put the word tartan in the title, because that's typically a plaid word that people use is for a type of plaid. However, on the inside of the tag, it actually said it was the tartan sweater, and it actually says that on a lot of their items. So that's just a style name that they decided to use in case you were wondering why I had that in my title. But this sold for $48. And then last item I wanted to show you, we will end on a banger. It was this pair of Rock Revival men's Jarvis jeans. Cannot recommend enough the brand Rock Revival in both women's and men's, but in particular, I do think that men's definitely sell for more money than the women's. And they usually have a quicker sell-through rate, and that's just really for all men's jeans. Any brand, men's just sell better for me. These ones sold very, very quickly, and I do believe I paid up for these jeans. I think I paid somewhere between $20 and $30, knowing that they were gonna flip very, very quickly and for probably over $100. So these ones were called the Jarvis jeans, and they had kind of an acid wash finish, a very like dark wash, and they sold for $114, again with free shipping. So probably definitely cost me about $8 to ship, so still over $100 profit on those. And again, I did pay up for them. I'm almost positive I paid somewhere between $20 and $30 for those jeans. Still a really great return on investment. And those are the kind of items that I'm willing to pay up for, ones with really amazing sell-through rate and ones that are going to triple my money. All right, guys, so that is it for today's What Sold video. I hope that you guys enjoyed watching. I hope that it wasn't too long, but I am trying to catch up doing a month's worth of good items to show you versus the weekly ones. I still don't think I'll be able to do weekly, but I am trying to get back into the groove of things and make more videos for you guys. If you like this type of content and you want to learn more about reselling, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell down below. Love to have you guys as part of the reseller community. If you'd like, you can also follow me over on Instagram. I share a couple of what solds over there, little bits and pieces of my reselling business. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.